Hi there everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm the GCSE science teacher, and in today's video we are going to be learning about glucoregulation, which is part of the homeostasis module for GCSE Biology paper 2. If you do enjoy this video, let me know by giving it a big thumbs up, share it with someone else so they don't miss out on key content, and feel free to subscribe so you don't miss out on key content, whether it's biology, chemistry, or even physics GCSE. I hope you enjoy this video and thank you so much for all of your support. I'm really excited to see the community here growing, and I really am very grateful for everyone's support here. So thank you so much. If you'd like to subscribe and join our amazing community, please click the subscription button and let's get started. So as a bit of a recap, remember the endocrine system we talked about before, but it's essentially a system of organs that release hormones directly into the blood to help us to coordinate our body and allow us to respond to certain stimuli, whether internal or external. And essentially, hormones are those chemical messengers that can act on target tissues or other glands. Sometimes that is the case. So we need to be aware of the different glands, such as the pituitary gland, often known as the master gland, that's located in the brain. And its main job is to release LH and FSH. Both are hormones related to female fertility and part of the menstrual cycle, but also ADH, which helps with osmoregulation, so the amount of water in our blood as well. We also have the thyroid gland, and this is located in the throat, and it releases the hormone thyroxine, and this is all to do with metabolism. So those of you studying higher combined, you will need to know a bit more about thyroxine and negative feedback loops. You also need to know about the pancreas, which we're going to focus on today. This is found in the abdomen, and it essentially releases insulin and glucagon, two very important hormones. We also have adrenaline, which is found in the case of adrenal glands. This is a hormone released by the adrenal glands, which is located on the kidneys. And this is often released in very stressful situations to increase our breathing and heart rate. We also have the ovaries found in females, and this essentially is used to release estrogen and progesterone, again, helping with fertility. And testosterone in males is released by the testes as well. So lots of different types of glands and their hormones, and also the locations you need to be aware of. So every single hormone I've talked about is released directly into the bloodstream. And because of this, it means that the response is much slower and longer lasting compared to the nervous system, which essentially produces much quicker, faster electrical impulses across neurons and passes that information very rapidly. The endocrine system is a lot slower, and you need to be aware of that key comparison. In the case of when we eat something that has lots of sugar or lots of carbohydrates in, we actually need to be aware of the different hormones that are released as a result of that. So when glucose levels are very high in the blood because we've consumed something that's high in carbohydrates or sugars, the blood is absorbing that glucose from the small intestine, and the glucose is very high and rich in the blood. As a result, this causes the pancreas to produce insulin, and insulin is released, which causes the target tissues, the cells around our body, to uptake and essentially absorb that glucose and store it as glycogen. Be really careful how you spell the word glycogen, and know that it's insoluble form of glucose. We also know of another storage system of glucose called starch, but that is only found in plants, so just be aware of the two differences there. This, as a result, reduces the amount of glucose in the blood, and therefore our blood glucose concentration returns to a normal level. Now, in healthy individuals, this is a very regular process, and this occurs quite quickly. And essentially, this is something that happens all the time, especially when we eat food. So what happens when glucose levels are reduced? Let's say we haven't eaten something for a good few hours. Our body will actually need to break down the glycogen stores into glucose and start to use that. We can also say in the case of excessive exercise, we will need excess glucose in the blood to help with that vigorous exercise and respiration to release energy for muscle contraction. So glycogen is broken down quite readily, and this happens again quite easily in healthy individuals. So what happens is the pancreas detects the low amount of glucose in the blood, and as a result releases a hormone called glucagon. You must spell this correctly, and a lot of students will mistake this for glycogen. Just be aware that those are two separate things. Glucagon is a hormone produced when the glucose is gone. That's how I like to help students remember this. Glycogen is a storage molecule of glucose. Okay, so when glucagon is released into the blood, it acts on those target tissues and causes glycogen stores to be broken down into glucose, and that goes directly into the blood, raising that level of glucose in the blood. And therefore, this can be used in the case of vigorous exercise, for respiration, to release energy, for muscle contraction, things like this. So this happens again all the time, and is something that in a healthy individual is easily done. And again, gets that homeostatic mechanism from a high to low and optimal levels quite easily. So, what might happen if the pancreas doesn't produce enough insulin? Well, this is actually a case called type 1 diabetes that actually affects lots of people, and a lot of people are born with this. It can be genetically inherited, it can just be a case that the pancreas doesn't produce enough insulin. And what needs to happen is someone will need to inject themselves with insulin to regulate the amount of glucose that their body uptakes as glycogen. So insulin, like I say, is made to essentially cause glucose to be stored as glycogen in cells. However, if there's not enough insulin there, the level of glucose, the concentration in the blood, stays high for much longer. And that's a really good way to indicate if someone has type 1 diabetes, because we can see on graphs, we can see from a blood test that the glucose levels will stay much higher for longer compared to someone who doesn't have type 1 diabetes. So, in addition to this, we can also have a condition called type 2 diabetes. And this is where the pancreas produces enough insulin. In fact, it produces a lot of insulin because somebody is continually needing insulin because their diet is high in carbohydrates and sugar, and they don't exercise enough. And obesity is a high risk for this because what happens is our body contains that glucose once we've eaten it, and the insulin produced by the pancreas is used to store it as glycogen. However, if our insulin is constantly being produced, our cells actually become kind of unaffected towards it. And that means our cells no longer respond to the insulin. And that means that glycogen will no longer be formed, as glucose will no longer be uptaken by those cells. So what happens is, again, glucose levels stay really high in the blood. And this, again, is a good indicator of if someone has type 2 diabetes, because glucose levels stay very high for longer as well. So to help these people with type 2 diabetes, they will need to exercise more and reduce their carbohydrates in their diet, as this condition essentially it develops over time through particular lifestyles like increased carbohydrate diet and also lacking of exercise as well. And that's it from me today. I've been the GCSE science teacher, and you have been curious. If you did enjoy this video, let me know by giving it a big thumbs up, share it with someone else, and please do subscribe if you haven't already. You can click the bell so you get notified of any new uploads. And if you would like to request any specific content for biology, chemistry, or physics GCSE, please let me know in the comments section. I have also linked some playlists and videos for you at the end of this, or you can check out my Instagram and TikTok at the GCSE science teacher for more bite-sized revision. If you're currently studying your GCSEs, best of luck. I hope they are going really well for you. Let me know how you do. And in the meantime, have a great day. Take care.